All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over the Summer of Suffering Part 4, and that's going to be here with our good friend Toad. I mean, it's not going to be that friendly, to be honest. It's probably one of the tougher fights that we've had thus far. But what we're going to do is break down basically all the nodes, some of the stuff in Toad's defensive kit, because that's going to apply. And then we're going to break down each objective and each fight, the ones that I did, but also ones that I believe anyone can do. So we're going to start out with the nodes here. First and foremost, as always, forward. So basically, if you're going to use revives on this fight, he's never going to regen above the health that he starts with. So that's really nice. You're never going to lose progress. Moving on, so we have the defenders immune to shock, and this is pretty much just the no Nimrod node. In my opinion, they just don't want you to use Nimrod pretty much to make the fight a little bit too easy. Moving on, we have Obstinate Charge. So basically, you're not going to be able to parry him as easily. What you can do is just a re-parry, so get him on the second hit or in between that window. It's about 8 seconds. So if you try to parry, you've got 8 seconds. You can successfully do so. Just kind of a little nuisance. Wounded Animal, whenever the defender's regeneration buffs are removed, so therefore nullify, stagger, fate seal, ability accuracy, anything that's going to remove them, you're going to take damage for that. So that's kind of an RPG thing. Definitely don't be doing that. Really key one here is every time you intercept, you're going to remove prowess, and that's a big part of this fight, is being able to remove the prowess he builds up. Otherwise you could get stunned. That's part of his kit. And then obviously next up, the more prowess he has, he's going to have unblockable specials. I would just treat them all as if they're unblockable, just to kind of have something not to worry about. And then finally is probably the more difficult one, is on his special attacks. You're either rooted or you have reverse controls. So you do have to keep track of which one is coming up next. Don't lose track of that, otherwise you're going to, get wrecked by a special pretty much. Part of his kit, like we mentioned, if he reaches 10 prowess, you're going to get passively stunned. So something to look out for. And then a little bit further down is if you basically pin Toad against the wall and damage him, he's going to gain regeneration effects, and then he's more likely to gain prowess. So pretty much keep him off the wall. You definitely don't want him on the wall, otherwise you're going to run into a lot of trouble. So that's going to be all the nodes and his defensive kit. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into the first fight here and cover the objectives and some strategies for the fight. So this first fight is going to cover the objective. That's the XL sized character that's also a defensive tank fighting style. And so in this one we're using Juggernaut. Juggernaut makes it super easy. And I might be talking a little bit here, but because I do have a 7-star rank 2 Juggernaut, but even if you had a 6-star rank 5, 6-star rank 4 Ascended, he could definitely do it, because a lot of what's nice about using Juggernaut here is that he's immune to reverse controls. So that's one of those major points that we no longer have to worry about, is you can deck specials like normal. All you've got to watch out for is when he's going to root you, because the root timing is slightly different than when you're not rooted. You've really got to watch out for that jump it reaches, and so your dex is a little bit later when you're rooted. That's something to pay attention to. And he gets me a couple times here because for whatever reason, I mean, a lot of people have mentioned this, he is quite reluctant to throw specials. So he throws them at the most awkward times, or he doesn't throw them. So, I mean, that's something we're, I think, more familiar with and used to in these Summer of Sorrow fights. So don't, you'll figure it out. As you kind of practice and work with the AI, you'll start to learn a little bit more about how he works. If you are also comfortable as you're pushing through these fights, if you have the reverse control, in my opinion, if you have the reverse control, I guess dormant reverse control coming up, I feel like it's totally fine to push into a special 2. If you know it's coming, the special 2 is super easy to dex. You just got to remember that you're in reverse controls if you don't have a champion that's immune, like Juggernaut, for example. But in this fight, what's also nice with Juggernaut is that he gains unstoppable basically constantly, and so it makes intercepts a lot easier. And like we mentioned before with the nodes, that's a huge part of this fight, is being able to intercept Toad to invalidate his prowess. Because honestly, you've really got to keep those down, because if it gets up to 10 again, you get stunned, and it's not going to be a good time for you. So I would probably think about every time he gets up to like 4 or 5 prowess, you could totally just go for an intercept. And pick the right time. Don't pressure yourself too much, because it knocks off 4, which is really, really big. Other than that, Juggernaut does make this fight super easy. As far as this objective goes, I think that there's more or less, most of the people in this can do it. You've got Dragon Man, who's poison immune, he can do it. You've got all the Hulks, so you got, OG Hulk can easily do this. Immortal Hulk, I'm sure someone's gonna pull off. Maestro, Overseer are all in there, who can easily do this. I'm trying to think of who else there is that would be really, really good for this. Onslaught can do this, no problem at all. So plenty of good champions, and you should have no issues pushing through this one. I will say, like we mentioned, he's really reluctant to throw specials, so it can often take quite a bit of time to pull these off. And so what I might do with these videos here is cut them short a little bit, because you're just seeing a bunch of dancing around, and we'll move on through each one, because the one I really want you to see is at the end, where we get a solo with a 6-star rank 3 Viv Vision, and I think she is the absolute perfect design for this fight. They had to have had her in mind. No one is better for this fight, in my opinion. And so what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and move on through those and just move on to the next one. Okay, so here we're doing the Kree/Sinister 6 objective. So it's not and, this is an or objective. So you can do anyone that is Kree or is Sinister 6. I don't think there's anyone that's both, so that's obviously why it's going to be an or type objective. So I'm using Vox here. I just wanted to use Vox just for fun. I wouldn't say he's the best for this fight, because again, with Toad being a bit more difficult in throwing his specials, you've really got to be precise in trading back the degens that you put on Toad, being able to get them back and revert them to your corrupted buffs and go back and forth, right? So because you've got to be able to do that before those degens run out, otherwise you're kind of resetting yourself. So I would say that actually makes it more difficult with Vox, but he is poison immune, which is great, not reverse control immune. So keep that in mind if you're using Vox. In fact, I'm thinking of the other people who are good for this fight, and that's going to be Hulkling for sure. Hulkling's going to destroy this fight. I mean, like, he destroys basically everything, but that's why I wanted to use someone else. We're not trying to cheese all this stuff. You may not have a Hulkling like I did for the longest time, and so you have to find your way around these things. So, Captain Marvel movie, everyone had a chance to get a 7-star quite recently, so you can easily probably use her. Mysterio would be good for this, and Shocker would be great for this. I'm pretty sure Shocker invalidates prowess on his light attacks, so you can just get right in there and pretty much fight Toad like nearly totally normal, because you're going to be taking off prowess even when you're not intercepting. If you find openings in other ways, you'll be able to invalidate the prowess anyway. So that's great. I would say those people are probably a lot better to use than Vox. But again, the timing for the decks is later than you think, so definitely be careful with that. With Vox specifically, again, you've really got to balance out how you're timing your specials. If you're going to use a Vox, what I would suggest is getting to near special 2, I mean as close as you can, and then throwing your special 1 like this, because then that way you've got a ton of time to basically get off another special, because he's going to be dancing around a lot, so it's going to give you enough time. If you're trying to build up to another special 1 in time, like all the way up, it's going to be quite a difficult road. So what I would, honestly, and these are just kind of throwing out my thoughts here, as you're doing this fight, every time he uses a special and you've successfully dexed it out of the root or whatever, just really keep in mind what's coming up next, right? As soon as you're in the combo that's building him up to the next special, I'd be thinking about, okay, what kind of special is this going to be? Am I going to be rooted, or am I going to have reverse controls? Because if you're not looking at that and you try to look at it as that special's going off, you may not have the time to get the decks going in the right direction or at the right time. So definitely something to consider as you're doing this fight. Otherwise, the fight goes pretty much as normal. With what's kind of nice with someone like Vox is you can use all these dots and just let it do its damage. By the way, this is super funny. I want you guys to watch this as this comes up. I die here and I cannot explain why. I get an intercept after this special and then I drop dead. Oh wait, sorry. I get stunned, nearly die. Then we get an intercept after this special. Here we go, it's coming up. Maybe if someone can explain to me what happens here. I got kabammed is what I'm thinking. But I could totally be wrong. Right here. Wow, I'm super late. So sorry, guys. More towards the end. And we're dancing. Dex. Boom, boom. Intercept. And I drop. Really not sure. If you guys could explain that to me, that would be cool. But I just thought it was super funny. Got kabammed. So with this Summer of Sorrow fight, we have finally the Deathless Vision objective. So this is how you're going to be able to awaken your Deathless Vision. This is for the 7-star only. I don't think the 6-star has an objective. And this fight's a good one for Deathless Vision. I'm kind of glad it wasn't too out there or too difficult. At one point, a lot of people thought that you weren't allowed to heal block Toad. That would have made this virtually impossible. Because, I mean, you either have to deal with that regen or you're going to get punished or something. Anyway, you can heal block, which is kind of the secret for both Deathless Vision and Viv Vision. Instead of having to outdamage him or wait out regeneration, you can heal block. So I'm not going to do a whole breakdown of Deathless Vision himself, but a big part of this fight is you want to build up as many Furies as you can. Use the spacing to your advantage. So again, get him away from the wall. I back up quite a lot. I just let him push me back. Don't pin yourself, but get far enough back to where you can have a good stretch of damage. Because what you're wanting to do is when he doesn't have a special attack, essentially, is you want to push him just over a bar of power, then delete that bar of power down, and you're going to get a phase charge. And then you're going to use those phases as you well-time block. And as you attack while phased, you're going to get tons of Fury buffs. And that's how you're going to get your damage. Otherwise, it's a long fight. I mean, it still is kind of a long fight. His damage is obviously not the greatest thing out there. That's probably one of the biggest complaints about him. But still, he can build tons of Furies. And so you kind of want to do that as you stretch down the map, essentially. That way you're not pinning him against the wall too soon and then not getting to utilize all of those Furies that you're building up is pretty much the idea. So again, Deathless Vision is not reverse control immune. He is poison immune, so that's fantastic, at least one of those things. Whereas in this case, remember, you just got to pay attention whenever a special's coming up. Is it reverse control or is it rooted? So ask yourself that question as that's coming up. The rest with Deathless Vision does, again, just take quite some time. Damage isn't that great, and Toad doesn't like to throw his specials. I'm trying to think of other tips here. No, that's pretty much it. I mean, you've got to spend a good amount of time baiting him out, but just be prepared for those things as they come up. With intercepting, I noticed at least a little bit at least with most of these Summer of Sorrow fights, he's not going to just shoot right across the map. It's always like he's real close to you when he's going to kind of charge in. So that's when I would go for an intercept. Or if you don't want to risk that, that timing, just do the backdraft. Throw 4 hits into him, dash back, and throw a light attack, and you can get an intercept off. So that's a tip I would use if you're not too great at intercepting. And so that would make this fight difficult, but that's just a way for you to do it. So here he's up against the wall, and so that's why he's gaining all those regeneration effects. But again, with Deathless Vision and Viv Vision in the next fight you'll see, you can heal block. So that's not the concern, but the concern is the buildup of prowess. You got to keep that down. Otherwise, big stun, tons of damage, and that could be game ending. Especially like my Deathless Vision here isn't ranked up. Well, he's leveled up, but he's still rank 1. So again, totally possible, all these solos. But again, I don't blame you for using revives. If you want to use revives, I think that's perfectly fine. He's not going to heal above, so it's not going to be a waste. Right? Again, I think I mentioned this in the Photon video, but set a benchmark for yourself, right? If you're not going to go for the solo, maybe set a goal of, hey, I'm going to shoot for 25% of his health. I'm going to shoot for 50% of his health. And go for that. Practice the fight until you can pull that off, because then, if you think about it, if 25% of the health, you're only going to use 4 revives. 50%, you may only use 1 revive. So it all just kind of depends on your resources and where you're at. If that's something you can basically utilize, that's what revives are there for. If you're not saving up for anything big, then or you're running out, you know, that's something just to think about here. So, you know, actually what we're going to do is, obviously the fight continues as normal. I'm trying to think of other tips, but we're just going to go ahead and cut this one and move on to the Viv Vision fight. That's the one I want you to watch in full. It's the longest fight because, again, she's a 6-star rank 3. But the reason I did it with her, I have tons of reasons, and we'll go ahead and move on to that, and I'll show you. So the Viv Vision fight was actually the first one I did, because I felt like I was going to have the most trouble with the... So this objective is the small size champion. I think it's control denial champions. And that's an and, so it's got to be both. This has the fewest pool, obviously other than Deathless Vision. Smallest pool of champions you can use. And so I think that oftentimes makes it the toughest, because let's say you don't even have one of those champions, then you've got to rank someone up, and who knows if that's the best one for the fight. Anyway, other people I would say that can do this fight, this objective, you've got Dust. I think Enchantress actually fits control denial small, so you could use Enchantress at this point if you've got one. Otherwise, I would stay... I haven't seen this, but I would probably stay away from Black Widow Clairvoyant. You just don't want to nullify anything if there's something to nullify. I mean, they are passive heals, so I think you might be okay. Plus, she can be poison immune, so that could be useful. And then... Oh, and then, of course, Guillotine 2099. You can control his power a lot, so you'll probably be dealing with a lot less specials. So definitely someone you could use. But let me explain why, in my Viv Vision is the best person for this fight. There is no ifs, ands, or buts in my mind about it. And let me explain why. So let's go over the problems with this fight. Number 1, obstinate charge, right? You can't stun him. You can't parry him immediately. So there's a smaller window for parries. It's about 8 seconds or something like that. That's something you have to work around. But Viv Vision doesn't have to worry about that. If I want an opening, you've just got to make sure you've got a phase charge, and you can well-time block, and you'll phase. And then that's an opening just like that. Number 2, I'd say second problem, probably the biggest problem, is you've got to remove the prowess that he builds up. So you can either intercept, but in this case with Viv Vision, if you use a heavy attack, she also invalidates, I think it's 3 prowess. So what you can do, and what you see me do a lot here in this fight, is I phase, and during that small window of phase, you throw a heavy attack, and you're gonna invalidate, just like that. And so that's just another way for you to invalidate. Next, dealing with reverse controls. Viv Vision, once you throw a single special 3, I did that at like the beginning of this fight, throw a single special 3, and she gains a Fury, first off, that's indefinite, and as long as that Fury is active, which it will be, you're immune to reverse controls. So it's another thing that you no longer have to worry about because you're using Viv Vision in this fight. Then I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, Rooted, you still got to deal with Rooted. Oh, a part of Toad's kit is if you hit him with incinerates, he can gain more of the secretion, like his regeneration. But when Viv Vision is facing a mutant champion, it's not incinerate damage anymore, it's plasma damage. So that's just another thing that she's going to avoid for you. And energy vulnerability she places on, burns with a special one. She can hit pretty hard. Again, it doesn't look like too much, but this is a 6-star rank 3. I think I'm boosted a little bit, nothing crazy. But I just want to display that you have tons of control in this fight with Viv Vision. I mean, at this point, I literally think so far the fight's virtually perfect. I haven't even been touched yet. It does happen, you know, jinxed myself. But it just goes to show how much control she has of this fight. It was totally designed for her. Nobody's better. If you have a... So, I mean, like I said, if you've got a Viv Vision you don't have ranked up, rank her up to rank 3 and give it a shot. If you don't want to go any higher with her, if you're a fan of Viv Vision, go for it. I was not before this. I literally just ranked her up to rank 3. I think I had her duped just once, so like Sig 20. The dupe is nice just to build up the energy vulnerabilities and things like that. But that's all you need, a 6-star rank 3, and you're going to be just fine. If you do like this champion and you boost her up rank 4, rank 5, ascended, I could see you just totally melting through this fight. No problem at all. I mean, it's pretty wild how easy, in my opinion, she made this. You know, I'm not wanting to disparage anyone if this is difficult. It is a difficult fight. I can totally agree with that. This is just how successful it went with her. So otherwise, guys, I mean, this is pretty darn neat. This is the final fight of the Summer of Suffering. We're going to have the gauntlet in a couple weeks. So that's going to include the 4 fights we've had already and 2 new ones. So that, I mean, put in the comments who you guys think it's going to be. Sometimes it's fun to guess. Realistically, we have no idea until someone leaks them. But there's some people that I'm thinking could come up. They've done some tough defenders already. You know, Photon, you've had Onslaught previously, Absman previously. Lots of tough defenders. There's still some to go. The only one I couldn't imagine them doing like a Serpent Summer of Suffering fight or something like that. That would be diabolical for them to do that. Could happen. I really, really hope not. I couldn't imagine who we would have to use. That'd be a revive fest, so just save them up, I guess, if that's going to happen. Enchantress, that'd be tough. And plenty of others, I'm sure. But also, guys, in the comments too, if you have any questions, let me know. If I can describe something better, perhaps there's something I missed or something you've run into that I maybe didn't explain, I'd love to answer it. Just sometimes as I'm doing these, I'm just saying what's on my mind. I have a few things kind of noted out, but not really like a script of such. Oh, and I totally forgot. On medium ending combos, Viv Vision hits heal block. So, you know, really easily accessible heal block as well. Makes it, you know, perfect for the fight. But we're pretty much there. And again, just doing the exact same thing. Like I said, if you're not into the intercepts, Viv Vision's great because you can use your phase and heavy attack to invalidate prowess, and then just keep moving along. You might have to do it more often. The intercepts definitely help. Gets rid of 4 as opposed to 3. So definitely something you want to keep in mind. And guys, practice this. Definitely practice. It's going to make you better at it. So I hope that this helped you out. We're coming on the final hit of this fight pretty much. If there's anything else you need, let me know, and good luck.